Start? So thank you everybody for coming. I'm happy to see so many people. A little nervous though. So today I'm going to be talking about developing a mindful writing practice. And so my disclaimer is I'm not claiming that I have all this figured out. I have been learning for the past 2 years. So I have been undergoing this kind of process of reflecting and being aware of things and being able to make changes little by little. But it's not always a a straightforward process. I think there are points in this journey where I've taken steps back and so, but then I also learned from that, and I think that's the new part, that I have been able to recognize when something is not going well in my writing practice or in my life in general, and then make a change and go forward. While before I wasn't aware of what was going wrong, I just felt horrible about the whole situation. So I am a PhD candidate in the anthropology department, so I've been in school for the last 10 years, and this is my last, hopefully, my last year. I hope to graduate next December, and not like in 2 months, next year, in December. So now that I have you all here, you are my accountability. I also have learned that saying that thing out loud, it really helps you move forward. And so, yeah, if you see me here after December, ask me, are you already done? So that's kind of my disclaimer or introduction. I thought that maybe we could start with, really quickly, like, why are you here? Like, what is your writing project right now? Like, what makes you, be in this presentation? So I don't know if you guys want to start with it really quickly, like your name and what's your writing project?
I'm Juliana, and then I'm also a PhD candidate who has changed my thesis about 100 times. And finally, I feel like I got connected to what I want to do, and then obviously have been guided through that process as well. And now that I feel engaged and I feel connected to my thesis, I'd like to make it even more productive. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here. And I'm taking steps towards that.
I'm Paul, and I'm interested in mindful writing practice because I've been writing for a long time, kind of like diary journal thing. And I've been doing the past few weeks, actually, I've made it like more of a commitment, so I want to learn more about it so I can apply it to my own life.
Thank you for being here.
I'm Bill, and I just would like to think about mindful writing to stave off old age.
Okay.
Good luck. I'm Kathy. I've been trying to adopt mindfulness practice in other areas of my life for several years. My main writing project right now is a textbook about health and literature.
I'm Anna. In a couple of months I will have my comps. So I've been reading a lot, but I have not read anything. So I need to start writing.
I'm Fernando. I'm in research chemistry, and I'm starting to get into technical writing, so I think this might help me.
I'm Bree. I'm in a Spanish 307 class. I do a lot of literature and writing, and I'll be able to write that in Spanish.
My name is Evan, kind of the same thing. I'm in Spanish 301.
What's your name again?
Evan.
Anna.
And in Spanish 301. We have a final essay coming up, and just
I'm Kim Lopez. My project is it's an ethnographic project. Interviews Guatemalan women who gave up children for international adoption. And so it's mainly their words, and I'm translating their word, transcribing, translating their words. But then I will be writing the introduction, and I'm curious to, I'm also Juliana's advisor, and so I was really pleased with what she said about having more control over her project. And I'm also curious whether your instructor forwarded this message to you about this.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that you're coming from the three of them.
Yeah, so I think hopefully this will help everybody at the different, different projects, different styles of writing, different disciplines. And I'm glad that Kathy brought up the topic of incorporating mindfulness in other parts of her life. That's basically what my journey has been as well. I can recognize some of the teachings of mindfulness, of Buddhism in other aspects of my life, but when it was about writing, like everything just like went out of my head, and I just was in this area where I was just like, what is this? And I couldn't apply the same awareness or the same kind of self-love that I was trying to learn and was practicing in other parts of my life to my writing. And so I was making actually my life very sad and miserable because I was being really judgmental about it. And so this is kind of a process of not being judgmental, right? So that you lift that and move those judgments away, and then you can just dedicate yourself to writing. So what we're going to be doing today, first we're going to do a writing exercise, a reflection on your own writing process and your relationship to writing. Then I'm going to talk about a little bit about what does it mean to unblock yourself, because a lot of people talk about, oh, I can't write because I'm blocked. And so what does that mean and how to unblock ourselves? And then also how to organize, because a lot of people when they talk about writing, we focus on organizing, and we have a lot of skills already that we kind of apply to other aspects of our lives for time management, but then when it comes to writing, it's a little harder because we have to take more engaged steps. And that kind of goes together with creating your daily routine. And so basically, I'm basing these learnings, things that I have acquired throughout these years from 3 main sources, and at the end I'll give you their emails, or their websites. But basically, it's I've been reading a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I think she has other books, but that's the one that I've been using this year. And I've also used a resource called Academic News, and the other one is the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity. So my learnings are from those, or what I'm sharing today is based from that. So your reflection, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to talk about, to write, to kind of just stream of consciousness, just whatever comes to mind to answer these 2 questions. What scares you about writing, and what makes you uncomfortable about writing? Ooh, wiring is writing. So 5 minutes. for 30 more seconds. Okay, so if you feel comfortable sharing maybe a few things that you wrote, that would be great. Any?
I am good. So I think writing for me is not really what scares me. I just think that writing academically versus writing for pleasure are two completely different things. And then I had to constantly find a way where academically also feels important, you know, and that for pleasure, because I always, like he was saying, I always wrote, but always for diary, always personal, always my thoughts, and not necessarily to have to share that in an academic setting with the right word, with the right ideas. And then I think another thing that makes me uncomfortable is that my ideas could be seen as dull. So obviously I don't want to be perceived as dull by anybody.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Will I write something that is valid, supportable, and original? Will my, this is what scares me. Will my argument be accepted or destroyed?
Yeah.
Will I unknowingly plagiarize and make someone mad and go after me?
Those are big ones.
Will I offend someone with my internalized racism?
Sure.
I get uncomfortable, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of information, ideas, and how to organize them. Often I have to write at non-optimal times, late at night or with my son around, and I lose my train of thought. I used to be able to focus for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and now I seem to be seeking breaks every 10 to 15 minutes. I think it's technology related and age related.
Any fears over here or any other comments about it?
I just talked a little bit about how almost every time I write it's for a grade in a class, and so I kind of feel like each professor has his or her own style, and I can't really adapt. I mean, I'm not really able to develop my own type of style. I kind of feel like I have to follow a rubric and cater it to professor-specific
Yeah,
needs.
it's hard to find your voice.
Yeah, it's just really, it feels weird, like being uncomfortable. I'm like almost at the end of college, and having done school for so long, I feel like I still can't write just because it has to match the rubric for this class, and it has to match each
Wow,
class
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
and stuff, but-
that would be, yeah, that's hard.
Exactly what I do. I wrote that, like, if you're writing a paper for a class, sometimes you feel like, oh, this is like great, like this is exactly what the topic is, this is exactly what I'm saying, and then you as a teacher and it comes back like all colored up, and you're like, wow, I didn't know I was writing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so a lot of, fear about like, how to do it, am I doing it right, or am I gonna, write something that people are going to reject or judge? And so I don't know if you guys have heard of the imposter syndrome, and so it goes around a lot among usually grad students, but I think what you guys are saying too, kind of that fear of not knowing your voice and not knowing if you're going to be pleasing to others. Another thing that I heard from you is about being judged based on your ideas. And so a lot of what I've learned is, it comes from, just, I think the tradition in Buddhism is we're not really our thoughts, we're not really our feelings or about our emotions. We're something more than that, and it's deeper than that. Those things change and those things pass. And so I think it's important to have that in mind when we're working with our writing. We're not only our writing, we're not only our work, we're not only our grades, we're more than that. And I think that realization can help us feel less pressure and like find that voice, right, like you were saying. And also realize that, yeah, there are a lot of uncomfortable feelings, and that's basically what we have to go through. Just the important thing is that we acknowledge it. Yes, I am really uncomfortable right now. This is causing me anxiety. But if you recognize it, then you're a little step forward into being able to change that feeling or doing something to help you address that feeling, because now you're aware of it. So this activity is basically that. It's kind of naming that thing that is kind of in the back of our minds, but we don't really talk about it that much, so that it's present and we can do something about it. So, so how about this one? Let's do a little less, maybe for 3 to 4 minutes. What excites you about writing? I know. One more minute. Okay, so I see some of the pens have stopped. So, was it harder to come up with something to answer this for some reason? Do you want to share what you wrote?
Sure, yeah. I wrote about, for me, I like mindfulness writing specifically as a way to reflect on my life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the ability, if you write down something, if you think something, it's like mindless, it's like a barrage of thoughts constantly, and that's what like meditation and stuff talks about. And it's the same thing with writing. If you write it down though, you can re-examine it because it's stored on the paper, so you can look back on what you thought if you write down your thoughts exactly as they were and understand your thinking and what you can do about it if you want to change a problem that you wrote about or
Anybody else? Well,
Well, and academically, it's really awesome when you see your ideas connecting. So when you wrote it and you're like, this makes sense. To you at least, right? Until you have to give it to somebody. But that's really exciting when you put all the effort in your writing and your reading connect. So when you're reading and you find something and you put into writing and it makes sense, and then you move on to the next step. Yeah.
So I think one of the main things that, why it's important to think about this is because it is kind of hard to think about positive things and reconnect to those feelings. But those are the ones that are going to propel us for the future. So I think it's important to maybe do that exercise about things that make you happy, things that make you smile, things that make you feel proud or rewarded, and also in any aspect of your life, but also about your writing practice. And so as we write and write more and more, then we're going to be able to recognize that, and we're going to want more of that feeling of like, yes, I really love this, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait, right? And so you're going to get mad if you don't get to write one day. That's where we want to. That's where we want to go with this. So, this is some work for you to do at home. So, take this week, 3 days of this week, and take 20 minutes in the morning is probably best, and write for 20 minutes about your visioning for what you want your writing life to be. And this is just like some kind of random years you can do, even just like for the rest of the semester, for 1 year, for 2 years, whatever. But here I'm suggesting in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years. Like, try to think about like where you're going to be, right, in the future, in your writing life. Like, what have you accomplished? What have you written? How are you going to feel about what you wrote? When are you writing? Do you have like a special place where you write and you get all your ideas on paper? Just try to vision that, and then after you do that, write a yes/no list. And so the yes side is, what are the things that, or let's just start with the no. The no list is, what are the things that are preventing you right now from getting to that vision, that are preventing you to achieve that vision, right? So, it could be things like not finding a designated time to write, having to work for, I don't know, in all these other projects for most of my schedule. A big one for me is, for example, watching Netflix instead of writing. So, Netflix is like things that you're gonna say no to in order to get to your vision. And then your yes list is things that you're gonna say yes to in order to achieve where you wanna go, right? And have those lists around, right? And check every week, every day, which of these things in the yes did I do today, or which of these things did I do in the no list, right? So that's a little homework. So we are aware of what's going on in our lives, what's our relationship to writing, and it helps us to really be sincere about how we write. And I point that sincere is a really important word there, because sometimes we get caught up in this cycle of, oh, I'm blocked, oh, I don't have time, and really we really need to check with ourselves, right? Do this exercise of gratitude, and also of like checking and saying, well, these are my objectives, and these are all the things that are obstacles, and I'm doing those things, right? So taking a really sincere approach is to really commit to it. Like, it's going to be your most important thing that you do, and these are the steps that you're gonna take, right? And so if you have those things in mind, then you're gonna make better decisions about what really helps you, supports you through that process, and that's gonna, take us hopefully to a place where we feel a little more happy with our writing lives. So these ideas come from this book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and she suggests 2 different things in her book about taking those obstacles that we go through in our lives that basically prevent us from sitting down and write, right? And so the first thing that she talks about is how we have this idea in our heads that in order to write, we really need to be good at it. We need to, and we believe that we're not good at it, right? Because somebody gave us a grade that, maybe doesn't reflect, how we think that we're good writers or not. Maybe because we sent an article and it was rejected, or maybe because when we presented something that we wrote, we got a lot of criticisms, and so we have in our heads this belief that we're not good at it. And so, I'm not creative, so I'm not even going to do it. And we kind of punish ourselves and then let ourselves do the things that we want to create. However, what she thinks, or what her teaching is, we are all creatives, creative beings. We are extensions of something bigger than us, and as part of this universe that creates things constantly, we are that creative force. And so we can create things. The thing is that the way that we live our lives, we put so much pressure to produce things, and we're constantly writing things for classes, for work, for our personal life, and then we kind of forget that as creative beings, we also need to put creative food into our minds and into our hearts. And so one of the things that she recommends is take yourself into creative dates. So you go identify things that you love to do, but you have always told yourself you can't do it because you don't have the time, or because you haven't finished your homework, then you can't do this, or because you didn't, go to an event for work that you were supposed to go and you didn't go, then you're not gonna reward yourself for something, right? And so you don't allow yourself to have what we call free time. When in reality it's not really free time, it's like self-care time. So what she said, these are things that are activities that allow you to kind of feed your inner artist. So things that are visual, that are sensorial. So taking a walk once a week and noticing, now for example, it would be beautiful, the leaves changing, right? Or listening for the sounds of the birds. Going to a music concert, things like that. But she actually advises to do it alone, so that you kind of go through that process and realize how it makes you feel. Because if you're going with friends or a loved one, then you're kind of feeding off each other, and this is kind of an internal experience. The other thing that she says that it would be helpful to kind of unblock yourself, right, is this practice of the daily morning pages. And she has this formula, which is every day, 3 pages by hand. So I started doing this 16 weeks ago, and it was so hard the first day, and then you go through, or the first week, the first phase is you don't want to do it, and you feel like this is a waste of time. How is this writing anything? Because it's supposed to be anything that comes to your mind, even I don't know what to write, or this exercise is really not relevant, this is not working. I hate doing this. Even that, what she says is if you do it every day, then you're going to leave those kind of negative feelings there, and you don't have to carry them with you the whole day, because they're there. And it sounds kind of basic, it's like, yeah, sure. And in my case, it has worked. But the process is you feel like this aversion to this exercise, you don't want to do it, and you skip days, then you come back to it, and you start realizing that there is a change. Like you guys, you have a practice of daily writing. I never did. And through this, I've never done that in my life until now. And until I started doing the morning pages, I realized, oh my gosh, since I can remember, since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to have a diary. And I have been collecting beautiful notebooks throughout my adult life, and I had no idea why. And so I have a shelf of beautiful empty notebooks until now. It's like, yes, that's what I wanted. I wanted to write, but I didn't know how. I didn't know that I could do it, right? I didn't let myself do it, right? Because I thought, yeah, I don't know how to do it. Nobody has told me how to do it. And so this is my 16th week, and I think, I don't know, maybe in like the 8th or 9th week, I did this exercise that she suggests in her book, where you go and look what you have written, and I kind of highlighted all my feelings, and they started so negative. Like the first couple of weeks, everything was negative. Then I started to write good things that I kind of felt like, changes, or maybe not changes yet, but things that made me feel good about what was going on in my life. And then I started to reframe those negative things and say, okay, yes, I feel this horrible thing, but I can also do this, or I can do that. And then I didn't do anything. Pragmatically, I didn't do anything. But then there were other weeks where I actually record writing, in my writing, oh, I was feeling this way on Monday, and today I did this, and now I feel awesome. So it is a change, a long process to get to first name those bad things, you leave them there, and then you start reframing, and then you start making changes, because it's really hard to write something that you don't like about your life, or that you're not feeling good about for so long and never do anything. Like, there's something about writing it that you're gonna make that change. You're gonna start to make those little changes. And so I really, really, really suggest doing this. What I have been having trouble is doing my creative dates. And so, because I still hang to that feeling of I need to self-punish. And that's something that I struggle with, right? Like, well, if I didn't finish that paper, then I shouldn't be knitting. That's like my thing that I really like to do. Or I shouldn't be going on a walk in the bosque with my husband because I didn't finish this. And so I still hang to that. And I have to go through that. I have to kind of face that and be like, okay, I didn't finish, but I still deserve, right, to go and look at, I don't know, something pretty. Take a walk in a gallery or something. Feed my creative insight. So if you have aversion to doing this, there's a reason why. So maybe you can just write about that. And maybe take a leap of faith and do it. Okay. So after we kind of go through this process, and this could take months, weeks, years to do. So yeah, it's not going to happen in India. So we, I think, these are things that we can do kind of at the same time, simultaneously, to kind of help ourselves through this process. But, so this is about not so much in the creative part, but in the organizing aspect of it. There are so many things that we're involved with, and so one of the things that the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity suggests is that in our planning, we are aligning our long-term goals with our daily tasks, right? Because what they have noticed is that a lot of people, are in trouble because, meaning in trouble like not feeling good about their writing practices because we have disconnected goals with our daily life. The only way to get to those goals is by changing this daily life, right? This routine. And aligning them, focusing on the things that really matter to you. So before you start planning, you really have to think about those goals, right? Identify your goals. One of the things that they stress a lot in the center is that in the culture or society that we live in, we're kind of pressured to work all the time. And like we are worth the time that we work, and we have to kind of show everybody that we're so good because we're so busy, right? And there's an emphasis on overwork and an emphasis on multitasking. And so what they're telling us is, and the other person that our organization resource that I use is Alan Klima's Academic News, and he says that really writing is an art of attention. We have to focus our attention on one thing at a time. But see, in the outside, we're pressured for doing so many things at the same time. And so we stop caring for ourselves, we only work, and we forget to take care of ourselves. So we have, they suggest that you identify your academic or your professional goals, but also your personal goals, right? So, and relational. So you could identify like things that you want to be doing, or in a year, for example, that you want to accomplish, regarding your health, like your physical health or your emotional health, your work, your writing, and also about relationships, right? Like if you want to work on a specific relationship with your partner, with a friend, with your mother, whatever. So that you have, we are more than our work, right? That's basically what they're teaching us. And so have those goals, all of them, all the types of goals in all the different aspects of our lives, align with, sorry, what was I saying? So align your goals with your daily tasks, and this should help us decide if this is not aligned with my long-term goal, then I'm not going to do it, right? And we kind of don't do this. We say yes to everything because we're, and so we have so many things, como decimos, on our plates. And so if they're not aligned with our goals, we should say no, right? And later, I will be talking about how to put them in the calendar. So you say, well, it's not in my calendar, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it, right? I have other things that I'm doing. And you can see it for yourself, because our tendency is to say, well, maybe, yes, if I don't sleep as many hours, if I don't go to lunch, then I can do that, right? And so you start sacrificing your well-being. So,
I have a question.
see.
On the previous slide, the last thing that it said was to keep records of how long things should take to get done. Why?
Why? Because, thank you. Because we have, how do you call that? Kind of unrealistic expectations, like I'm gonna write my dissertation by next week. Well, if I don't keep records of how long it takes me to write one paragraph, then I won't be able to really realistically put in my calendar when is it that I'm going to graduate, right? So yeah, it's good to like visualize and say, yes, I want to graduate and have my dissertation done by December of next year, but then you need to take those steps back and say, okay, if it takes me, like track your time, like if it takes me a month to write a chapter, then I have 5 chapters, okay, maybe 5 months, I have my first draft, and then you can start planning more accurately. And then you can also start saying no to things that are not your priority because you need more time to get your writing done. Okay, so what the people from the National Center for Faculty Diversity and Development and Diversity tells us is that we need to create or start a process of strategic planning. And what they mean by that is we need to identify our goals and make them into SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're time-bound. So, just saying I want to graduate by December is, well, December is, I want to finish my dissertation. That's what I kept saying for the longest time. But really, it's not very specific. It is measurable because finished, right, dissertation. But if you make them specific and you make them small and relevant to your reality right now, this week, for example, or today, for 10 minutes, I'm going to write a paragraph about this question, then you're going to basically be able to do it, right? A little bit at a time. So what they have this, and if you want, I can send around a link or something, but they have this podcast that they created. Usually they charge for all their materials, but there was this free link to a podcast where they kind of walk people through going through doing this strategic planning. And so you first identify your goals, you make them into SMART goals, and then so each of your maybe projects or goals have to have specific tasks. And then after that, you identify only the deadlines. With your calendar open, you start putting deadlines and you can work backwards. And then when you have that, then you have to be able to work that strategic plan on a weekly basis. And this is the thing that they say most people don't do. So we start the semester, or the year with these grand plans, and then I have no idea where that strategic plan is. I don't even know if I saved it. I don't know. I threw away that paper or that file. I don't know. And so this is supposed to be a tool that you meet with yourself once a week. So like at the end of your week on a Saturday or on a Sunday or Monday morning, and you look at what you did last week and what you are going to accomplish this week. You look at your calendar, right, with those deadlines and the tasks for each project, and you choose tasks for each day. Either some people like to do work on different projects at a time. Some people prefer not to. So it's up to you what, if you say this week I'm going to work on this project and this other week I'm going to work on this project, or if you do it at the same time. But this is the most important thing to remember, that your strategic plan is a living document. And that's where you can actually record, right? So what I did is I created an Excel file and put my projects, the tasks for each project, and then a column for the times that I actually spent. So after each work session, I record the time that it actually took me to do it, so that I review it at the end of the week. Sometimes I forget to do that. So yeah, okay. So when you do that, you can also start focusing on your daily routine. So this is how do you say that? Operacionalizarlo. Operationalize your strategic planning. So these are kind of tools that you have in order to get your day moving, right? To put in place, to actually achieve those tasks that you set yourself to. So this dominoes thing is the idea that it's hard to wake up every day at 5 in the morning and be like, yeah, I'm gonna get in my leggings and go to my yoga class, or do yoga in my living room. So maybe you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna do yoga. I'm just gonna set the mat. And then you go and make your tea. Or then you're like, okay, maybe I'll just do one sun salutation. right? And then little by little, you start like doing your whole routine. You're like, oh, 15 minutes, I did my yoga, or 20 minutes, or something like that. So it's like, you have your dominance, and you push one, you do that one little thing that is gonna help you get to your goal. And then little by little, other good things are gonna start happening. So think about what are your dominoes, like what helps you kind of push that first domino to start that effect where you're gonna actually be going through a good path to accomplish your tasks for that day. Very important, very important.
We only have like 5 minutes left.
Okay, I only have one
Okay.
one more thing. So very important, easy doable tasks. An easy doable task for writing could be, it depends on where you are. Could be writing one sentence a day. You write it and you're like, yes! Now I can go have that ice cream, right? It could be a paragraph. It could be one page. It could be answering one question from the questionnaire that the teacher sent, right? So if you choose doable tasks and when you complete them, you're gonna feel that awesomeness feeling and you're gonna want more and more and more of that. That's kind of the reason behind that. Your writing beats. So it's not enough to say, okay, today I have it in my calendar, I write from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. and it's gonna be great. And you sit down and you're like, what am I gonna do, right? The night before, write exactly what you're gonna, the topics of each paragraph that you're gonna write. Or, 2 paragraphs, I'm gonna write about this, in a page, I'm gonna write about this, I'm gonna explain this example, so every single task has to have kind of a script, right? What you're specifically, the more specific you are, the better, so that you avoid that time, which could be seconds, where your mind switches from, oh, today is my writing day, to, oh, I wonder what's on Netflix, I wonder what's happening in Facebook, oh, I have to answer this email, right? So in order to avoid that millisecond, you have your writing list or your writing beats, and you just start writing. Pomodoros. So those are basically working on small sessions, time sessions. So what Kathy was saying earlier, there is so much stimuli around us, like our phones, our friends, the TV, and we are not paying attention, right? So let's say you have an hour to work. So you can do your Pomodoro. So Pomodoro is like a working session. So it could be a 1-hour Pomodoro divided into 3 10-minute sessions. And you don't have anything else except for what you're gonna use to write, right? So you don't have the internet on, you don't have your phone like to look and see if you got a message. You just write and you time it. So either with your phone or your watch, or there are little things that you can download from the internet that are just timers. I think the one I use is called Be Focused. And so you can select how many Pomodoros you're gonna do a day, and also after each segment of work, like 10-minute segments, you have to have a little break to give your mind a break, to give you time to do those things that you feel like you really want to do, but the writing doesn't allow you to do. So allow yourself to do it during that break time. The breaks are short in between the sessions. It could be 3 to 5 minutes. And then at the end of your big session, like your hour, you can have like a 30-minute, for example, break. Just make sure that your break is not, if you're writing in the computer, is not doing something in the computer, right? So just like get up, get water, get coffee, go bother your roommate, do whatever you want, go breathe outside, and then come back. And again, don't connect to the internet, don't look at your notes or anything. If you're writing, you're writing. That's it. Okay, creo que eso es todo lo que tengo. That's my presentation for today. Oh, sorry. And then the resources that I mentioned in the beginning, the Academic Muse website. It has an online platform where you have to pay, but you know, with your membership, you get access to a lot of like podcasts and like blogs, and also a kind of online community where you connect and you're like, okay, today I'm gonna work in the morning, and so you connect with a group that is working in the morning, and you write and comment about like your process. So this has been very helpful because I have found that writing is very isolating, and so sometimes when I don't have like a friend that, you know, to go to a coffee house or something to write, I just connect to that and find people everywhere in the world using it. This one you also have to pay. They have really good coaching services, so they actually like appoint a person to coach you for your writing. And then this is just, you know, here, UNM, the UNM Research Center has writing groups and writing coaches. So use all the resources you can to help you through your writing. Bye guys, thank you.
But who was the teacher who wrote it?
Yeah.
Stop it. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Take these.